You know what's crazy? I'm turning 40 this year, and I finally hit the age where I have to scroll for 3 minutes just to find my birth year on a drop down menu. It's kind of depressing. But let me tell you, there's something about hitting that number that makes you stop and think. You look back at the last decade and you realize some of the smartest things you did with your money and also some of the dumbest. And some of these mistakes cost me real dollars, and some of them cost me time and I can never get back. Now, those very same mistakes taught me that building wealth is not just about stacking money. It is about building a life with real freedom and peace of mind. So if I could sit down with my 30-year-old self over a glass of old fashioned and just be straight with them, these are the 9 things I would say. And I also have a bonus one at the end of this video. Mistake number 1 is missing out on the 2015 Roth IRA. And I think about this once a year or so every time I contribute to my Roth IRA. So back in 2015, I hit a huge milestone. I became completely debt-free on December 21st, 2015 at the age of 29. So by the time 2016 rolled around, I thought I was a total pro at this money stuff, right? And I built up my emergency fund and I was putting enough into my 401k to get the employer match in my 401k. And I even maxed out my Roth IRA by the end of 2016. And I felt like I was winning the game, but I totally missed something that still bothers me today. And I did not realize at the time that the government gives you until the tax filing deadline to contribute to my Roth IRA for the previous year. I had this idea in my head that the deadline was December 31st, 2015, and that was it. Because I did not know the rule, I missed out on putting an extra $5,500 into my 2015 Roth IRA between January and April of 2016. And if I had just put that $5,500 into an S&P 500 index fund in January of 2016, and let it sit until now, at the time I'm recording this video in April 2026, it will be worth around $19,500. That means my lack of knowledge cost me more than $14,000 in tax-free gains over just 10 years. So let me just save you from that same mistake. Every single year, you have until April 15th of the following year to make a Roth IRA contribution for the prior tax year. And missing 1 year might feel minor, but that money would have compounded for decades. And mistake number 2 is missing out on the Roth TSP when I was still in the military. And I retired from the Air Force after 20 years, so I had access to the Thrift Savings Plan, or TSP, which is the federal government version of the 401k. The Roth TSP became an option back in 2012, but due to the lack of financial knowledge, I kept putting my money into the traditional TSP. And looking back, that was a mistake for someone in my shoes. Now, when you're in the military, a lot of your pay, like your BAH, BAS, and clothing allowances, is tax-free. And that meant my taxable income at the time was actually very low. And most years, my marginal tax rate was only 12%, which brings me to the part that really changed how I see this now. A traditional TSP gives you a tax break today, but you pay taxes on every dollar you take out later. And with a Roth TSP, you pay taxes now and you never pay taxes on that money ever again when you retire. Since I was already in such a low tax bracket, paying 12% would have been much smarter than waiting until now. And when a Roth conversion would put me at a 24% tax rate today, right? And it's a much better deal to pay a small tax now than a bigger one later. And then there's another part of military life when I really dropped the ball. And I spent time deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, and Kuwait back in the days. And when you're in a combat zone, your pay is tax-free. And putting that money into a Roth TSP is probably one of the greatest legal tax dodges in existence. You do not pay taxes when you earn it, and you never pay taxes when you take it out. Even the traditional TSP is okay in that spot because the original money stays tax-free, though the growth gets taxed later. And if I could do it all over again, I would have maxed out that TSP every single time I was overseas. And if you find this type of content helpful, I want to make sure you know that I am taking one-on-one clients again. And I don't talk about this very much on my channel because the spots are always very limited, and that's the private client program. And these spots are reopening very soon, and I only work with a very limited number of people at a time. So when they fill up, they fill up. If you want to be first in line before they're gone again, the waitlist link is first in the description down below and in the pinned comment. So with that said, let me move on to mistake number 3. And mistake number 3 is not focusing on my income. And once I got the hang of the retirement accounts, I realized I was focusing way too much on the wrong side of the equation. And when I was clawing my way out of debt, cutting expenses was the only way to survive. But once the debt was gone, I stayed in that mindset like someone stuck in a loop. And I kept acting like spending less was the only way to get ahead. The truth is, there's a floor to how much you can cut your spending. You still have to eat and have a roof over your head, but there's almost no ceiling on how much money you can actually earn. And I realized I should have spent way more time in my 30s finding ways to boost my income. I could have focused more on my side hustles, getting promotions, or starting a business like this one much earlier. And whether it was creating YouTube videos, doing freelance work, or just learning new skills. And that was the real lever I should have pulled. Instead of spending hours clipping coupons to save 50 cents on a box of cereal, I really did that back in the days. I should have been figuring out how to bring in an extra $1,000 or $2,000 every month. Because the truth is, your ability to invest more changes your life in a way that skipping lattes never will. And mistake number 4 is not prioritizing experiences. That obsession with saving actually led me to missing out on a lot of life early on. And after I finished paying off my debt, I stayed in this extreme savings mode that was almost a bit unhealthy. And that was because I believed saving 70 or 80% of my income was the only way to achieve financial independence and retire early, also known as the FIRE movement. And I still believe in the FIRE movement, but I did it too aggressively in my early 30s. And I did not really travel at all in 2016 or 2017 because I was too scared to spend the money. And that changed in 2018 when I finally took my daughter on a Disney cruise. And looking back, I should have started traveling the moment I was out of debt. I had already spent 2 years sacrificing everything to get to zero. And I had earned the right to live a little, right? And the thing is, you have to find a line between being responsible and being afraid of your own bank account. And at the end of the day, memories of a great trip are going to stay with you a lot longer than a new gadget or a pair of shoes. Early on, I was being a financial miser because I was scared to go back into debt when I should have been more intentional. And so since 2018, I have been on over 70 trips. I even flew first class to Germany because I saved money for it. And it was worth every cent because I had saved for it. Again, saving, right? I didn't go into debt. I also remember a $400 omakase meal in San Francisco that was just incredible. Now I always set aside money for concerts, sports, or new restaurants because I intentionally budget for experiences. Yeah, I'm a season ticket holder for the Raiders now too. And I refuse to be the guy who dies with a pile of money and zero memories. I figured once I'm out of debt, on track financially, building towards my goals, I should not be afraid to spend on things that actually matter to me. And mistake number 5 is not starting my business earlier. This business, buyer side chat. And that shift in mindset eventually led me to start my own business. But even then, I waited way too long. People have been telling me for years that I should turn my passion for helping others with money into a real company because I was already helping friends and family get out of that paycheck to paycheck cycle for free. But I kept coming up with reasons not to. Fear of failing, not knowing where to start, maybe a little laziness too, the usual stuff. And so I finally started my LLC in 2021. But even then, instead of building a real business structure, I spent too much time focusing only on making YouTube videos. I should have been creating systems, building a real business model, and finding more direct ways to help people change their financial lives. Now I have a team of almost 11 people. I could have started doing that years earlier. And when I finally shifted my focus, things started to click. I have helped countless people completely turn around their financial situation. And I genuinely believe I could have helped even more people if I had just trusted myself sooner. So if you're someone watching this who wants real help building a plan towards financial independence, I do have a private client program for exactly that. And it's available if you ever feel like you need a clearer plan or some guidance along the way. At the end of the day, you don't need perfect timing. You just need to start, because the longer you delay, the more that decision works against you. And mistake number 6 is focusing too much on dollars rather than peace of mind. And what I realized is that I often got caught up in the math instead of focusing on what actually made me feel good. And for me, peace of mind means having no consumer debt, period. And I know my mortgage will get paid off eventually, but I never want to owe money on a vehicle or a credit card ever again. And in fact, I have friends who tell me I'm crazy for not taking a 0% car loan. They say I should keep my cash in a high yield savings account earning 4% instead. But I don't see it that way. When you have a loan, the bank still owns a piece of your life every month, just like my house. And let's be real about the math. That 4% interest in your savings account is taxable. And after you pay the IRS, you're only going to be making 3% in net. Now, I want you to ask yourself this question. Is chasing a 1% math advantage really worth the stress of having a debt hanging over your head? Not for me. I would much rather own my car outright and sleep like a baby than try to squeeze out a tiny bit of extra profit by keeping debt around. And mistake number 7 is playing too much with individual stocks. And I had to learn the hard way that I am not a professional stock picker in my early 30s. For a long time, I just stuck to the S&P 500 index fund, which was the smartest move I ever made. But then I got a little confident and decided to put 10% of my money into individual stocks. At first, it was great. I bought Tesla stock between 2018 and 2020, and it went up by over 700%. And this is not financial advice, and I'm just sharing my experience. But that win at the time made me greedy. And I started buying stocks just because I thought they might take off, right? Without really knowing what I was doing. And eventually, some of these stocks crashed and lost 70 to 80% of their value. And trust me when I say, it really hurts to watch the stock fall over 70% of value. And what I learned from that experience is that if you buy a stock without actually understanding the business, you're not investing. You're just gambling. And these days, I don't buy a single share unless I've just reviewed the income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow. And I listen to the conference calls and I make sure I know exactly how that company makes a profit. And if I cannot explain the business model, I don't touch the stock at all. And mistake number 8 is focusing too much on my net worth. And there's a big difference between being a millionaire and being financially free. I officially hit $1 million net worth in 2021, which felt like a huge win at the time. But when I look closer, I realized most of that was just equity of the house I bought back in 2014. Home equity looks amazing on a balance sheet, but it does not pay for your groceries. Unless you sell the house or borrow against it, that money is basically trapped. You cannot use your kitchen to pay for groceries in retirement, and you cannot eat your house in retirement, right? It doesn't work like that. Now, real financial independence is about having assets that generate income to cover your living expenses. And someone with $700,000 in an investment portfolio that pays them cash every month is actually in a better spot than someone with a $1.3 million net worth if $1 million of that is tied up in their home equity. And what really matters is having assets that can replace your paycheck or your business income. And don't get distracted by a big net worth number if it isn't actually creating cash flow you can live on. And mistake number 9 is not getting married sooner. And I really should have gotten married sooner. And I waited 5 years to marry my wife, and I probably could have saved a fortune on taxes during that time. I'm joking, of course, but there's a truth behind it. And I got divorced in 2013, and I was terrified that getting married again would just lead to another financial disaster. And I know a lot of guys watching this probably could relate to what I'm saying, but I eventually found the right person, and we have been married for 5 years now. We're on the same page about everything from our daily budget to our retirement plans. When do we want to achieve financial independence? We could have accomplished so much more together if I hadn't just let fear hold me back for so long. When you find someone who shares your goals, money actually becomes easier to manage. And people say marriage is expensive, but I think they might just be marrying the wrong people. And because when you know, you know. And here's a bonus money lesson I promised at the beginning of this video. This is something I wish I had understood in my 20s, but it was still relevant to my 30s. Nobody, including your government, politicians, friends, or neighbors, is sitting around thinking about how much money I made or what kind of car I drive. Any impression it makes usually lasts maybe a few seconds, and then people go right back to thinking about their own lives. I used to believe certain purchases would elevate my status, get me more dates, or make me more friends. But the truth is, most people are focused on their own bills, stress, and goals, and they're not studying my financial life. Chasing status leads to overspending, lifestyle inflation, and sometimes even taking on unnecessary debt just to keep up with appearances. And the person I'm trying to impress today will forget all about it tomorrow. But I'm the one with the payment, the pressure, and the delayed progress towards financial independence. Once I realized nobody cares, it became easier to stop trying to impress people and start making decisions that actually improve my life. What matters is financial peace, time, freedom, and the ability to provide for my family and live on my own terms. And that shift alone changed how I spend, save, and invest. The same goes for the government and politicians. They're not going to care about my personal financial situation the same way I do. Policies will change, tax laws will shift, and benefits may come and go. But none of that replaces personal responsibility. And I cannot rely on future laws, Social Security changes, or political promises to secure my financial future. At the end of the day, it is on me to save, invest, and build a plan that works regardless of who is in office. So the good news is, even though I learned some of these lessons later than I would have liked, I still got them before turning 40. And that makes a huge difference because once you see it, you can start moving differently right away. And honestly, if even one of those lessons helps you avoid a mistake that cost me time or money, then all of it was worth it. And this video is worth it. And so I want to hear from you. What's the biggest money lesson you learned in your 30s? Drop it in the comments because these lessons can help more people than you think. And this has been another piece of a video and we got a lot out of it.